Hello and welcome back to Focus Atlanta. Thanks so much for continuing to watch. In this segment, we're going to talk a little bit about our mental health, how we're doing, and how our children are doing. I'm here with Rob Thornson. Thanks so much for making time for us. Rob, this is a very personal issue for you. There is a reason that you founded this organization. Can we start there?
Yeah, of course. Our organization is called Shoulder Check, and it's all about asking people to reach out, check in, and make contact with one another. And the genesis for the idea comes from my son, who unfortunately, obviously, great tragedy, died by suicide in May of 2022. But when he passed, we reflected on that, and of course, like a lot of people, were compelled to kind of to make a contribution in whatever form that would take. And we found ourselves leaning into, it sounds counterintuitive, but not how he passed, but how he lived. And the way he lived was he was a hand on shoulder guy. And in a way, this idea is just extending what he did to as many people as we possibly can.
Thank you so much for your candor and taking time to talk to us. I'm so sorry for your loss. Many of us think, or we feel like when tragedy strikes, we just want to run into run into the closet and hide. Like we don't want to come out, we don't want to speak out. But you said no. I need to do something. I need to do more. Tell me about that.
I don't know where that impetus came from originally. And, I think everybody navigates their path in their own way, as it relates to their personal grief. And I think what happened here, if I had to kind of go back to that and kind of think how we found ourselves navigating this path, it was when Hayes passed, a lot of people, whether it was, our support network, right? My son's friends, their families, my family, everybody. A lot of people reached out or shared stories where people asked the question, who's going to do what Hayden did now that Hayden is gone? And it just took us a minute to understand what they meant by that. What they meant by that was like he was a big guy, larger than life, but he was also an empathetic guy. Like you noticed him for who he was and his presence. Like I said, he was a really big guy. He was an athlete. He was all that stuff. So you noticed him for his physical presence, but you remembered him for the impact that he made. He was empathetic. And that's like, I think, an atypical thing to say to like a 16-year-old, like dude, right? Like there's a stereotype that goes with a 16-year-old guy. But he was an empathetic guy. And when everybody, mentioned that, it resonated with us. I looked at all the photos that were hanging on our walls, like everybody, you have the hallway or the staircase or whatever, you have a lifetime's worth of photographs hanging. And in every single photograph, Hayden's in the middle and he's got his hands on people's shoulders. So in a way, people said, who's going to do what Hayes did now that he's gone? And we thought like, okay, we can answer that. We all can. We can all put hands on each other's shoulders. And that's what kind of unlocked the path for this idea. And, I credit everybody who was in his life. It was Hayes that inspired us down this path.
That is beautiful. This is an amazing way to honor him, honor who he was and who he was to, not just you as a family member, but to his community members, to his friends, to his schoolmates, those type of things. Can we talk a little about how our small gestures can help? Like, what can we do? That's always the question that people have. Like, what could I have done? How could I have helped? Do you have any words to speak to that?
I wish I had more. I think in every instance where we're at the point where 50,000 people are making this ultimate decision, every year. And I think all 50,000 of those individuals have walked their own path towards it, right? And I think certainly there are commonalities or archetypes. That's the truth. And I've come to learn more about that. And, if I had to think about my own personal experience, Hayden's archetype was the guy who carried it all without saying a word. If you made a list of 1,000 people, he'd be 1001. And then you're left to think like, okay, what would I have or could I have done different? And as much as I hate to say it, there isn't an answer to that question. But again, like I said, everybody walks their own path. And that's why I think in a lot of ways, like this idea is meant to be universal. So it's almost like it doesn't have to answer any one individual's question specifically, or even just the topic of people who are on this path that we're talking about. It's a universal idea, right? Like we may not always know who needs a hand, but we all always have a hand to give. And I think that's what we can all do, right? We could just be out there checking on people. And that's by, I don't want to say by design because it sounds like almost too intentional, but the idea is just that, like reach out, check in and make contact. And the more we do that, the more we'll find people who might say, hey, you know what, man, like I could use a hand.
I really needed that. You never know when they really needed that.
Yeah.
Well, I can't let you go then without giving us a website. Is there a place that we can check in, that we can make sure that we're doing, all that we can on our end, that we can learn more?
Yeah, so our program is shouldercheck.org and on that website, it's kind of like there's two sections. There's one that's called Get Inspired, and there's one that says Get Involved, and it showcases how the program's coming to life in schools, with teams, in communities. We have toolkits and lots of things you can do, and on Instagram or at the Shoulder Check. And that again is just meant to be a showcase, not of the things that we think and say and do, but rather how individuals are taking this idea and bringing it to life and supporting one another with it. Because ultimately, my role in this is to support everybody else who sees value in this idea in whatever way they want to bring it to life. It's our job to help it in whatever context that might be. It's kind of like steal this idea. Please use it, take it, let it go wherever it can.
Rob, thanks so much for making time for us here in Atlanta. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. All right, guys, I can't close it out any better than he did. Please take the opportunity to go to the website, see where you can lend a shoulder, be that shoulder. We never know what circumstances the people around us are in, but sometimes we can be that empathetic person that helps them on the next level, takes them to the next place. So take the opportunity to go to the website, learn more, and stay tuned for more Focus Atlanta. We'll be right back.